Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 171 of Just the Zoo of Us. This week I'm talking to a science communicator, birder, and self-proclaimed professional nerd about a little bird with the loftiest ambitions. We talk about competitive birding, planetariums, and what it's like to eat, sleep, and bathe entirely midair. Just the Zoo of Us presents Chimney Swifts with Ralph Crewe. Hello, everybody. It's Ellen Weatherford. I'm here with Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast. And this week, I'm very excited to speak with a brand new friend. This is Ralph Crewe. Say hi, Ralph.
Hi, Ralph.
Oh, geez.
I'm sorry. I feel... That's
I
not
feel
good.
betrayed.
Yeah, no.
You come onto my podcast. You speak to me in this manner.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, hello. I'm Ralph. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Ralph, what are your pronouns real quick?
Him, he, yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Today, we're talking about a fascinating, peculiar little bird that you listening, we've all probably seen and just didn't necessarily notice, but we should because there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on with them. But before we get into this cool bird, I'd love to get to know you a little bit. Ralph, can you let our friends listening know what got you into birds?
Oh, well, that's a great question. So I often just characterize myself as a professional nerd. I have a day job at a software company, but I spent about 10 years working at a science center, among other things, helped run a planetarium there. I'm also a competitive bird watcher.
And this is interesting to me because this does not at all strike me as an activity that can be competitivized.
Oh, it is deeply competitive. I'm not that good at it, but I'm getting there. I got into it years ago. I was a student. I was a biology student at the University of Pittsburgh, which is where I live. And I did some field work actually studying herpetology, so reptiles and amphibians.
Not a terribly far cry away from birds.
No, and actually, really, birds are reptiles when you think about it.
Derived reptiles.
Yeah, that's right. Reptiles are only a clade if you include the birds. But so I got really into this sort of idea of going around in the wilderness in my area and identifying all these things. I could identify all the amphibians and reptiles of the state, which was really exciting. However, for something to do just for fun on your own, we call it herping. It's not an ideal activity because it's sort of impactful on the environment. You know, you shouldn't be flipping over logs and rocks and stuff all the time. Like that's
a lot of disturbing.
It's a little disturbing, right? If you're doing it for science, then that's more acceptable. So if I wanted to scratch that itch on my own as a normal human, birding was an amazing choice. And I had a friend who worked with me at the science center that I worked at that time, who competed in this birding cup. And he knew I would ask him about birds a lot. And I'm a very sort of curious person. So one day he said, one of our teammates had to drop out. Do you want to join our team for the birding cup? And I immediately said yes, even though I'm deeply underqualified at this point.
A ringer, baby.
But yeah, and then, I've been doing it for about 10 years now. And birding has been unbelievably satisfying for me. And it's just a brilliant way to observe a lot of local wildlife. There's more diversity, I think, than most people realize. Like in my state, in Pennsylvania, we have about 300 species of birds throughout the year that come through here. And that there are states, like I know you're in Florida, which has even more. I think it's like over 500 there, which is remarkable. It's a lot of diversity, a lot of cool stuff to see.
It's approximately 1 billion species of birds.
Yes, it's so many.
If you want it, we got it. We're Bird Central over here. Before we move on from competitive birding, because I have so many questions about just like competitive birding as like a compound noun. Like those two words don't seem like they belong together. So at least so I have an idea of how this works. How do you score birding? Do you get a score or like a rank?
So the competition that I compete in is called the Birding Cup, and it is at a nature center and raptor rehab center called Shavers Creek, which is part of Penn State in central Pennsylvania. And the Birding Cup is actually, it's a fundraiser. So I pay to be a competitive birder, but it helps fund this amazing center. And the way it works, you have a team. Our team is usually 4 or 5 people, and you have 24 hours in which to observe as many unique species of birds as possible. So that your score is how many species did you see? And we did win it once. No big deal.
A little flex.
Yeah,
just a minor flex.
It was remarkable. We had an actual ringer on that team. We literally had a professional birder on our team. But yeah, we got 146 unique species in 24 hours.
Like combined for all of you?
Well, so we all have to, at least 75% of the team has to see or hear the bird. So there were a couple that we missed where only 1 or 2 of us saw it, and then it flew and we just never saw it again.
Oh.
So you don't get every single, you've got to verify it. And because it's a fundraiser, it's mostly honor system.
I was going to ask if this is like an honor system thing.
Right? Like, couldn't you just say? Yeah.
You're all like communicating in a little secret chat, like, okay, everybody put down that you saw it.
Yeah, right. No, if you do declare that you've seen something really, really weird, they will ask you to provide like a photograph. And we have at least one person who's carrying a big camera on our team. If you get to know bird nerds, they're also often camera nerds. It goes well together. But it's also like there's no cash prize, and what a weird thing to cheat at. Like I feel like it's an honor system, and most birders are pretty. We don't want to misidentify things,
right.
and we are, and this is so cool. We record all our data as part of a citizen science program that I encourage everybody to participate in anytime, called eBird, where you can just sort of report bird sightings. So we report all our sightings on the Birding Cup. And so like we are motivated to give as accurate information as possible. I mean, I guess it's technically possible someone could cheat, but I really don't think that they do that.
It's just kind of a general be cool understanding.
Yeah, be cool. Come on. It's a birding competition. It's not, it's one thing that does happen that you have to be wary of. And we almost recorded in error once, is at night we do owling, right? So and to do that, that's with your ears, and you're not allowed to use technology, but you can use your voice. So we will, physically call owls to see if we can get an owl to call back. And then we can be like, oh, we heard a great horned owl or a barred owl or something like that. But the problem is that you're out in the woods and there are other teams there too.
I was going to wonder if maybe like that's so weird. Everybody said
barred owl. No, wait, that's Greg.
Like everybody suddenly says they heard them in the exact same spot at the same time. Like, hold on a second.
Yeah. But it's a delight. It's one of the coolest things I do. It's also intense. Like 24 hours is a long time to be bird. We sleep for maybe 2 hours, like on somebody's living room floor, and then we're out.
Goodness.
And we're just moving and birding and birding and birding, and it's really remarkable. And it was after the first time I did the Birding Cup is when I lost the ability to turn it off. I am always birding now. Anytime I see a bird, I'm always like, oh, look, there's even if it's something simple like a starling or a pigeon, like I always like look at it. But it has made my life a lot richer, right? There's a ton of bird diversity around me, and I really enjoy getting to go and see it everywhere I go.
It also gives you an excuse to just like get out and see a new cool place in nature, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because like it gives you kind of a reason to maybe go check out a national park you haven't been to yet or something like that. Like you can see a lot more of the world just by having like a reason to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's also, honestly, it's a little like therapy, right? So I'm a busy person and I have life things going on. And birding is one of those places where I can be on a walk in a beautiful wilderness area, and I'm very observant, right? My eyes are wide open, my ears are wide open, I'm quiet, and I'm paying attention to what's going on around me so intensely that I'm not thinking about my job or my house or what I'm having for dinner or like why does my ankle hurt or whatever, right? Like I'm just in that moment, and that is really, really satisfying and pleasing. And like the birds have their own little lives and their own little problems that they don't care about my problems. So it helps give me some perspective, and I find it to be very soothing. And it's one of the only hobbies I have also that is fairly healthy. You go on long hikes, and that's not bad.
No, and it's blissful. And, also I think satisfies, I think it encourages some intellectual curiosity too, right?
For sure. And
you got to learn more about the bird and its context in the ecosystem and its behavior so that you know where to find it. So I think it really just stokes the coals of curiosity a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, and also it's almost like real life Pokemon. Right. Mm-hmm. It's you want to see all the, at this point, when I hear that there's a rare bird in my area, and I get alerts when do you hear about it? I go find I've never got a painted bunting that normally in the Rocky Mountains somehow ended up in Pennsylvania. I got to go get it. I got to go find it. And even though what that means is I'm going to go look at it with binoculars if I'm lucky, maybe take a picture, but still it's really satisfying. And you get excited if you see a rare bird, it's a really, I don't know, it's addictive in the best way possible. I highly recommend it.
For sure. Earlier, you mentioned that you had worked as an educator in a science museum.
Yes.
Mentioned that you had worked in a planetarium. I did want to bring a very brief, completely unrelated story, but it is tangentially related in the sense that it was an experience I had at a planetarium doing one of those planetarium shows where they project all the stars and stuff and then had an announcer, which was...
I was that... not at that planetarium.
No, it wasn't you.
Was it me? No.
So something like this happening where I took my 8-year-old son to the Museum of Science and History in Jacksonville, which is a very fun museum. They have a really cool planetarium there. We went there and we decided to see this show there that was called, I think it was called The Skies Over Jacksonville, where they show you this huge projection of all the stars you can see and everything that you can see over Jacksonville. And they did that really cool thing where they would zoom in on, first they would show you the constellations, but in a 3D view where you can actually tell that the way that you're looking at them from the ground is not really the way that they're laid out in the sky, right? They could be way farther away or way closer to each other than they look. But they pulled up the projection of all the constellations you can see around our night sky, and they're slowly rotating. They're doing a time lapse where you can see the constellations rotating over the dome of the planetarium, and they pull up a thing where they have labels for some of the major constellations, especially the zodiac constellations, and then some of the more recognizable ones. They'll show Ursa Major, Orion, stuff like that.
Sure.
And this one slowly rotates into view that's kind of at the bottom of the screen, so you can't see it that well. And it was never mentioned by the planetarium announcer, probably for good reason, which I now know this constellation to be called Boötes.
Yes.
With a little umlaut over the O so that it's Boötes.
Yeah.
It was not written with an umlaut over the O. I'd never heard of this constellation before. So you just see at the bottom of the screen, this constellation labeled Booties, just slowly rotate into view. And I'm dying laughing. And I get my 8-year-old's attention and I'm like, hey, look, Booties. And he found that so funny that to this day, every time I talk to him about the museum, he's like, that's where we saw Booties. I was like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, that is present in the Northern Hemisphere now. You could go see the real booties if you wanted to.
You could go booty gazing.
You could. You could absolutely do that. It's a good constellation though. That one.
We couldn't contain ourselves after that. Every time it was on the screen, we were a menace. We were a complete menace to this planetarium presentation.
Planetarium presenters have to deal with come on, look at the major planets even, right? We have Uranus, which of course, everyone goes Uranus. And Uranus isn't that much better. Anyway, it's got the word urine right in the front of it. That's not what you want.
Either way, this is a lose-lose.
It's tough. You're going to get some laughs. But you roll with it. And you know what? Astronomy should bring joy, right? It should be fun. It's not that, it's not heart surgery. Let's have fun with it.
We don't have to be stuffy about it.
No, I don't think so.
I have seen some people try to get around the jokes by trying to pronounce it the original, I don't know, Greek pronunciation and being
Uranos.
Uranos. I'm like, I know what you're trying to do.
No, I think that puts a highlighter on it. That makes it even more.
Doesn't it? You get a Streisand effect.
So actually, the guy who discovered it wanted to name it not Uranus, but he wanted to name it the Georgian Sidus, which is Latin for King George's star. Okay. And so I would lean into that and I'd be like, well, that name was ridiculous. So everyone else that, we can't deal with that. We'll call it something sensible like Uranus.
Either way, this poor planet had no valid name options.
No. But it is an interesting planet. If you ever do just the planet of us, I guess that's not a very good pun, but it's a good one to cover. If you ever want to talk about it, I could go on and on. It's really interesting. It's knocked on its side, so it's like sideways. And anyway.
Yeah, very cool planet. So, to bring us back around, today we are talking about a bird, a really cool little bird that we've all probably seen, just didn't really notice it, and this is the chimney swift. So, for people like me who are like, what on earth is this little guy? I would love it if you could introduce us a little bit to our small friend, the chimney swift.
For sure. So the chimney swift is one of my favorite birds. They are a small bird that in the northern hemisphere summertime, and really from sort of spring into early fall, they live in eastern North America. So if you spend time anywhere in eastern North America, you'll see tons of them. They're quite plentiful, although unfortunately their numbers are dropping, but there's still a ton of them. And they are very, very agile flyers. So their niche, they're almost like daytime bats, is one of the ways I like to think about them. They
sure.
eat insects on the wing, so like in midair, which requires them to be extraordinarily agile flyers. And they're present in cities. I mean, they call them chimney swifts because they often will roost and nest inside chimneys. No surprises there.
That's funny because in Florida, a lot of people here don't really have chimneys. So
right.
Maybe this is why I don't think of them often.
So they didn't evolve for chimneys. They've been here longer than we have. You know, they've been around in a non-human environment. They would tend to live in like hollowed out dead trees and things like that.
We got plenty of those.
Yeah, you got lots of that.
You think when chimney swifts saw humans inventing chimneys, they were like, oh yeah, it's all coming together now, baby.
Oh, they built a dead tree out of bricks and it's like really tall. Like,
it's just
I love
for
that.
me. You made this for us?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
They prefer chimneys over their natural habitat.
Wouldn't you?
I mean, I suppose so. It's probably better weather in there.
Yeah, it's probably like warmer and
maybe too warm. Sometimes, maybe too warm.
One would say. It gets pretty toasty.
Although they are here in the summer, right? So like those chimneys are going to get a lot less action than they would in the winter.
True.
Like in the winter, they fly down. They live in South America. And one of my favorite things. So one of the reasons that I was really excited to talk about it is their wintertime behavior. So like in the summer, they nest here and they fly around in the air, like acting like bats in the daytime. And they essentially never land. They're the most sort of flight adapted bird that I've ever heard of. There are other swifts that are similar to that, but in our area, chimney swifts are it. And in the winter, and I actually learned this, I was so thrilled. At one point, I hosted a podcast for the science center that I used to work at, and I got to interview this guy, David Sibley, who he's like the Jimi Hendrix of bird field guides.
What a title.
I mean, he's incredible. He interviewed, and he told me this thing that just rocked me. It blew my mind that in the winter, they go to South America, but when ornithologists observe them there, they don't see anywhere near enough of them. They're like, where do they go? There's a lot of them aren't around. The numbers are not matching up. And they think, and it's really hard to prove this, but they think that it's most likely that they just go up to about 10,000 feet and live there.
Just in the sky?
Just in the sky.
How?
Like they don't. I know, right? This.
What are you eating up there? What are you doing?
Bugs. There's bugs all over the place. Little bugs and gnats and things like that end up there, and they eat. They can sleep while they fly. They can do that thing where they like half sleep their brain, like dolphins do, you know. And so yeah, they can spend essentially months on end just in the sky. Like, you know how we have like land animals, right? And then they have like ocean, like marine animals. Chimney swifts are almost to the point where they're sky animals. They're not land animals anymore. I mean,
all sky all the time, baby.
Yeah. I mean, if they didn't have to lay eggs, I think they may never have landed.
All they got to do is make a nest in a cloud and then they're good to go.
If cloud nest technology comes around, then I think chimney swifts we won't see them down here anymore.
Don't we have a drone laying around we could just send up real quick to check? Be like, let's just zip one of those things up there, see what those swifts are doing. Like, let's see what they've got going on up there.
You know, that's a great idea. And if there are any like zoological PhD candidates listening, like what a cool thesis that would be, right?
Just send some drones up. Just go check.
It's like, I'll just go fly drones in South America in the winter and just look for chimney swifts all day. That sounds awesome.
If I won the lottery, I feel like I would be like a scientific patron, like how the Medicis in like ancient Italy were like patrons of the arts and like funded an entire like artistic renaissance. That would be me, but for like funding the dumbest imaginable wildlife research projects.
That is now my life goal. That is the most brilliant idea. I love that.
Send some drones up. See if the swifts are just kicking
let's go find these swifts. Yeah. But yeah, they're remarkable birds, but they're also like, so I didn't know they existed at all until I became like a birder, right? And then you learn how to identify them. Because they never land, like they physically can't perch on, like they can't land on a tree branch. They can't walk. They cannot stand up. Their feet are basically like almost little Velcro hooks, basically. They can hang on a wall, and they have really stiff tail feathers that their feet will sort of grip onto a wall, and their tail feathers push against it as they lean back, and then they can just hang out like that. They can sleep like that or whatever. And that's it. Like, their feet are not useful for anything other than that.
I feel like I've seen a picture hanger that like mimics this sort of style. It's like a small hook that like has a lever that pushes against the wall. I feel like I've seen a picture hanger like this.
Yeah, exactly. They're like picture hangers, but with wings that eat a lot of bugs. It's really neat. So the whole like having reduced feet thing too, their larger group that they are part of that I think is so interesting. Their closest relative is the hummingbirds, which, I mean, how cool are hummingbirds? They're amazing. That group of hummingbirds and swifts is known as apodiformes, which is Latin for footless, without foot, like pod as in like podiatrist, right? Apodiformes, so footless. I mean, they do have feet, obviously, but both the swifts and the hummingbirds have such reduced little feet. I don't know, it's so cool.
Little vestigial feet.
Basically, yeah. Their feet are, like, they're still technically there, but it's more just the idea of a foot than an actual foot.
It's a concept.
Yeah. That also blew my mind because they don't look like hummingbirds. They look a lot like, and they act like they fill a similar niche to swallows. So if you've seen, barn swallows or cliff swallows or tree swallows, things like that, which are also common summertime birds in North America, they live a very similar lifestyle. They have a very similar flight pattern. They sort of zoom around eating bugs on the wing. And in fact, when I first started birding, I had trouble telling swallows and swifts apart in flight. It takes a little while to get good at that, and so I assumed that the swifts must be closely related to the swallows. Not the case at all.
It's never what you think it is.
No.
It is hubris.
Yes.
To like look at an animal and think, oh yeah, I could probably reasonably estimate what that's closest related to. You cannot.
No, it makes me respect taxonomists a little bit more. That's not an easy job. And like there were a lot, like the old school where people just grouped things based on how they looked together. Those old like sort of grades that people used to group animals. They're pretty wrong. Like it's there's a big mess there to untangle.
I sometimes find it like more surprising when they're like, yeah, the thing they're related to, they look like it. It's pretty straightforward. That's almost more surprising to me.
Yeah,
and you're like,
right?
oh, phew.
It's like, is this a trick question? Is this no?
This feels like a trap. Feels like this should be way more complicated than it is. Hey there, we're going to take a quick break to hear from a couple of the other shows on the Maximum Fun Network. When we get back, we're going to give the Chimney Swift some ratings, so stick around.
Hey, I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
And I'm Elliot Kalin.
Listen, you like podcasts, right? Sure you do. Don't try and lie to me. You're listening to one right now, so why not try a different one called R1, The Flophouse?
And on The Flophouse, we watch a movie and talk about it. And then sometimes we also do other stuff.
It's all meant to be funny and fun, and we think you'll have a good time. And just to be clear, the name of the podcast is not Our One, The Flophouse. It's just called The Flophouse. I do a lot of correcting Dan.
The Flophouse. A lot of correcting Dan.
Hey, it's John Moe, inviting you to listen to Depresh Mode with John Moe, where I talk about mental health and the lives we live with all kinds of people. Famous writers.
David Sedaris, welcome to Depresh Mode.
Thanks so much for having me.
Movie stars.
Jamie Lee Curtis, welcome to Depresh Mode.
I am happy to be here.
Musicians.
I am in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm talking to Amy Mann.
Great to talk to you.
And song exploders. Rishikesh Hirway, welcome to Depresh Mode.
Thanks so much for having me.
Everyone's opening up on Depresh Mode on Maximum Fun.
Okay, so since we're talking about these really interesting ways that the chimney swift is adapted to some very fascinating like lifestyles, I suppose, if this is your first time ever listening to this podcast, what we do is we rate animals out of 10 in the categories of effectiveness, ingenuity, and aesthetics. So the first category is effectiveness. This is physical adaptations. So things that the animal has built into their body or changed about their body in some way that let them do a good job of the things they're trying to do. Eat bug. Step 1, eat bug, or things that may let them not become prey themselves. What do you give the chimney swift out of 10 for effectiveness?
So I spent a while thinking about this. It's hard to be really, dispassionate about that. I love these birds and I can't help it. I'm going to give them a 9.
Okay.
I have to give them a 9. So
solid.
Not a full on 10. I did dock a point from them, but just 1. And the reasons are, firstly, they're brilliant flyers. Like all birds are pretty good at, most birds are pretty good at flying.
I felt you think about penguins for a second and be like, no, you know what?
Yeah, I still have love for penguins. They're also very effective in their own way.
They are.
But in terms of flight, the chimney swift is about as good as it gets, right? They can fly for months, or really, if they didn't need to breed and they weren't doing huge migratory flights, they could probably just completely live in the air. And most birds, flying is such an energetically expensive activity that they avoid it. Actually,
right.
Even like typical backyard birds that you see, you'll see a robin maybe in your backyard trying to eat some worms, and they hop around. Like they could fly from worm to worm, but they often just sort of hop to save energy. But the swifts are so idealized for flight that is the way for them to get around. They're more effective at flight than essentially any other vertebrates that I can think of. So that, first of all, is that gives them high ranks for me. They are profoundly good at eating insects. They have a really wide gape, so they're a pretty small little bird, but if you look at their beak, the sort of corners of their mouth go pretty far back, which means that they can very briefly open their mouth very, very wide while they're flying. So much more so than like you think of like sparrows and other birds that you might be familiar with. The gape on a chimney swift is much, much larger. Almost, not quite to the point, but almost like the nightjars. If you're familiar with nighthawks or whippoorwills or things like that, they have a really big mouth. And so like that is an adaptation for their niche. They're I think better adapted than similar competitors like the swallows. Like the swallows don't have that same kind of bill adaptation.
I'm looking at a picture, and it's very funny that you mentioned how big their mouth is when it's open, because when it's closed, it's looks so tiny. It's itty bitty.
Yeah, so the actual the part of their bill that like protrudes past their face feathers is small. It looks like a little dot. But it goes back, like the corner, like it's so hard to describe in an audio format. The corners of the mouth of this bird go farther back than you'd expect.
Yeah, they're like way back up near the eyes, it looks like.
Yeah, they are not quite as extreme, but like you may have seen their South American birds like putus or frog mouths.
Those are goofy looking guys.
Yeah. And those are actually somewhat related to the apodiformes, the swifts and the hummingbirds. Their next closest group is the nightjars and things like that. So yeah, they have this mouth anatomy that allows them to open their mouth really wide while they're flying and eat well.
Turns them into a little bug net.
Yeah, they are devastating. If you're a small insect, a chimney swift is the most terrifying thing in the world. Like insects adapted flight so that they could escape predation. Right, and now chimney swifts are specialized in flying insects.
They said, "Oh no, you don't. Get back here."
If you're an insect and you want to avoid a swift eating you, your best bet is to just hit the deck. You like don't stay in the air. You're not going to beat a chimney swift at flying. They're also, unlike a lot of birds, they're adapted to humans. Right, so many animals have struggled as our numbers, of course, have exploded over the last several hundred years, and we've really impacted the environment. Chimney swifts, even though they're so specialized already, they were able to find a niche that they could fit in. Like that is now in their name. Like they live in chimneys. They take advantage of human-made structures, and that gives them an evolutionary advantage. So I find that to be highly effective, and in a way that very few. Most animals didn't do better when people showed up.
They might figure it out on the fly, but like
you got pigeons and raccoons and stuff, but for the most part. But no, I did dock a point, and
okay, let's hear it.
Well, because they're not doing as well as they used to. A lot of people don't. Chimneys, like seriously, the prevalence of chimneys is less than it used to be. Like a lot of people cap chimneys, or most people don't use big fireplaces, even in cold regions like where I live. I use a furnace that has like a pipe that is the chimney, and like that's not an option for habitation anymore. And then so there's a little bit of urban habitat loss that's happened.
That's something you don't normally hear about, urban habitat loss.
I know, right? Like it feels weird, but
it's usually the other way around.
Like it's the lack of certain human structures. And you may see in certain like Audubon areas and things like that, people will build little chimneys that are just a chimney, not attached to anything, just for chimney swifts.
Aww.
Which is adorable. We have a few of those around here in Pittsburgh.
A decoy chimney.
Yeah, a decoy chimney. It's like, yeah, it feels like a chimney. It's not a chimney, but they don't need to know that.
I have to wonder if their proclivity towards chimneys is dangerous, right? Like, that's where fire goes and smoke. It's dangerous.
Right. It feels like that maybe like building your house in a fireplace isn't the best idea.
You might die, right?
The thing is with chimney swifts, when it is fireplace time, they are in South America living in the sky.
They bounce.
They're not here, right? They don't have to worry about that.
Brilliant. All bases covered.
But the other thing, their numbers are dropping also because the numbers of insects have dropped dramatically, right? And that's their main food source. So if the numbers of insects get cut down badly, so do the swifts. So the only I've docked them, but that's you can't really blame the swift for that.
It's not their fault.
So that's why I give them a solid 9.
That's still excellent. I did want to ask, are there things that eat them?
Sure, there are things that eat them, but
if they can catch them, I suppose.
No. That's a good point, and that's something I wanted to mention too that I almost forgot. Yeah, so they are one of the benefits of being a permanent flyer is that it's hard for a cat to sneak up on you, right? Like
cat would need a jetpack,
right? So a lot of predators that are predators for other small songbirds never get a shot at a chimney swift. Now, that's not to say that none do. There are some birds that eat other birds, right? In my area, very occasionally you might see something like a Cooper's hawk or a sharp-shinned hawk, or maybe even a peregrine falcon or a merlin might go after a chimney swift. However, if you're a bird-eating hawk or falcon, chimney swift is not your ideal meal, right? They're fairly small. There are much bigger, tastier birds in the area, and they're great flyers. Like you still have to catch them, and that's not easy. But it does happen. But in general, they are. I mean, one of the great adaptations of being brilliant at flying is that it's hard to sneak up on you.
That is an excellent defensive maneuver. Just like, I ain't coming down. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Sorry, it's spooky down there, and I'm not going to be there.
Yeah, fair enough.
You got lots of monsters and creepy things that are trying to eat me. So I don't think I will, actually. I think I'm going to hang tight up here in the sky. Well, okay, so the next category that we rate animals on is ingenuity. So this is behavioral adaptations. These are things that the animal is doing to like maybe solve problems that it faces or like navigate their world. What do you give chimney swifts out of 10 for ingenuity?
So this one I did not hold back. I gave them a straight up 10.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, their whole flight strategy is absolutely ingenious, right? Like there are so many problems on the ground. As someone who lives on the ground, I can tell you.
It sucks down here.
It's rough down here, there's lots of issues down here they don't have to face because they are an air animal. Like it's still like I have to like build this new category in my head because like I do think, when I think of life on Earth, I divide it into terrestrial animals and marine or aquatic animals, things like that. And like the swifts are neither of those really. They are air. They are air animals. And that's, I think, ingenious. And one of the ways that they do that is that they can sleep while they fly. And like that, what a strategy to be able to do that. Like there's nothing that I ever do in my life that I like. When I'm sleeping, I'm bad at things, basically, is where I'm going. And but the swift is able to sleep while they fly. They're also, however, they're actually pretty brilliant little architects.
Really?
You never see them because they're inside of chimneys, but they do build nests, right? So like you can't just lay an egg in a chimney because it just falls down into the fireplace, and that's not ideal.
No. I mean, it's going to be great for the people down at the bottom who now have a free egg.
Right. No, I mean, breakfast, although that's a chimney swift omelet would be, it wouldn't be very filling, I don't think.
It's a snack, an appetizer.
Just a little guy. So no, they build these nests, but they have to affix them they build a cup-style nest, but it's a half cup on the wall of a chimney. And they build it with tiny twigs and their own spit. So the swifts are one of those birds who their spit is like glue. And they can sort of, it's kind of gross, but like but it's ingenious. They sort of glue twigs together onto the wall and slowly build this cup, but they can't land, right? Like, how are they getting these twigs?
Oh, true.
They have to, on the wing, fly by a tree and take off a tiny little twig from the end of a branch while flying. And that's just like...
incredible aim.
Yeah. And what amazing behavior. What a thing to see. You know, like see a bird just fly by a tree and just like, bing, just take a little...
It reminds me of this video game called Raft. Have you ever heard of this game?
I have not heard of Raft, no.
It is a video game where the whole game is that you start off on a raft adrift at sea.
Okay.
And it's endless ocean as far as the eye can see. And debris is floating by your raft that are like pieces of wood, pieces of plastic, things like that. And you have to catch them, like pick them up out of the water and then build things with them and like craft and eventually like expand your raft, make it bigger, do things like build, like you end up with like structures and like a really advanced like operation. People build like cruise liners basically on this game, where if you play it long enough you can build some really impressive things. But like the idea of the chimney swift having to like do a flyby down past us to like gather crafting materials is like, you can make a whole game of that.
Yeah. I think a Chimney Swift game would be actually brilliant if I ever learn how to do game design. Like, because like they do all sorts of cool stuff. Like they have to solve these problems without being able to walk or stand or stop. Like, you know, they can't. They're not hummingbirds, right? They don't hover. Like they're moving. Life is coming at them pretty fast.
It sounds stressful. I don't think I envy this life.
Well, but they're into it, I think. You know, it's like, you know, some people are introverted and they don't like going to parties. And then some people like that gives them energy, right? Like the Swift gets energized by this frenetic lifestyle.
They're thrill seekers.
I hope so.
Adrenaline junkies all the way.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that movie. What's that movie? Drive? Where like the bus will explode if it goes below a certain speed.
Oh, Speed. Speed is the movie.
Yes, Speed is the movie. I feel like that feeling of like frantically having to keep moving.
They have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Otherwise they will explode. Although, I mean, really though, if you ever find a chimney swift on the ground, like they're in trouble. It's one of the only birds I would ever say that you could consider maybe approaching. I mean, unless you know what you're doing, you really shouldn't approach wildlife, period. Like it's not a good idea. But if you did know what you were doing and you found a chimney swift on the ground, like they can't take off like that.
Oh, like at all?
No, they have to sort of jump into the air from the side of a vertical surface. So
wow.
if there's one on the ground, it's probably had something unfortunate happen. It might need wildlife rehab attention, which you should always contact a professional. But I have heard cases where occasionally somebody who does know the bird well will sort of just pick it up and like hook it onto the wall, and it'll just sort of sit there, and then it can fly away.
Oh, interesting. You know, you mentioned earlier that they're kind of like daytime bats. And I feel like a lot of the things come back to like the bat lifestyle, right? Like not being able to take off the ground, having to kind of like get a little bit of a running start, having to kind of drop down out of the air for it.
Yeah, I mean, like the way they kind of, like it doesn't look like it, but in a way they're sort of hanging from the wall. Like also, unlike most birds, all of their toes are on like sort of the front part of their foot. They don't have like a back foot claw to hook around, like to perch on something. It's just sort of just a hook, basically 4 little hooks that are next to each other that sort of clip on to the roughness of a chimney or the inside of a tree.
I did pull up like, you know, Google images of these birds and the pictures of them hanging onto the sides of things. I do think that if I got just like a quick glance at one of these, I would probably assume it was a bat, because it has that like the hooks, the little hook claws look like the little thumbs of a bat hanging on to like, it's interesting, like convergent evolution. I think that like they're so similar in like form and function.
Well, in North America in the summertime when they are breeding and roosting, you'll see them flying around, and often they sort of congregate in the evening just as the bats are on their way out. So I have accidentally misidentified a chimney swift as a bat before. Like they fly very, and they even sound alike.
Really?
So the chimney swifts do not do echolocation, so they're not like bats in that sense, or at least not yet. Who knows? Evolution, chimney swifts have been putting the pedal to the metal on evolution, and I think they might get there someday.
Speed run.
But they have this really high-pitched, chittering, sort of almost bat-like chatter that they make all the time. So, yeah, they're very batty, with respect. You know what I mean?
So if you're a bug You're like spending the whole day stressed out about these chimney swifts. Like, I gotta stay low because these chimney swifts are coming for me. The day comes to an end, the sun sets, you're like, phew, the chimney swifts are going to bed. I'm finally safe. Here come the bats, baby.
Here come the bats. There's just no rest. Being an insect it doesn't look like fun. Yeah, there's always...
This has to be a rough life.
There's no apex predator insect, right? They are never very high in the food chain.
But that's why they have to make so many of themselves. Like, that's why they have to make so many, because they're like, well, most of you are going to get picked off pretty much immediately, so... So have fun, I guess. Hope some of you make it, because it is round-the-clock stress.
It is round-the-clock stress. Yeah, no, they sort of almost like, it's like a shift change. Like the swifts are heading into the cave and the bats are heading out.
You think that when the swifts wake up in the morning, they're like, who closed last night?
Right. No, I wonder if that, like they pass a bat on the way out in the morning, like, hey, how was the night shift? They're like, ate a couple hundred insects. That's sweet. Another thing, though, in terms of ingenuity, I wanted to talk about the way they keep clean.
Oh.
So bird feathers only work when they're relatively clean and well kept. And
that makes sense. They don't want to be a nasty boy.
No. So they bathe by slapping water surfaces. They'll like fly over like a river or a pond or a lake and just sort of smack the water, and bounce off of it, and then like sort of shake around, and like they bathe while flying.
Is this like a belly flop?
Yeah, and a back flop sometimes too.
Huh. They can't even stop for that. They cannot even be bothered to stop for a quick bath.
No, they bathe while driving, basically.
A drive-through shower.
Everything's moving. Everything's going. And the last thing I wanted to mention for ingenuity, which I guess they didn't like come up with this, but it's still something that I think is worth mentioning. And this is also the case with hummingbirds, they have an extremely short humerus. So like if you think of your arm bones, right, like the upper arm is the humerus and you have the radius and ulna on the lower part. And in bird wings are the same. Like they're very similar, vertebrate limbs are like that. And their humerus is so small, it's almost like a joint bone. It's barely there. So a
nub.
Basically it's like they have like a double shoulder almost, right? So like their shoulder and their elbow are like right next to each other, and that allows their wings this kind of flexibility and movement that essentially almost no other birds have. The hummingbirds have it too, and that's about it. And so like they just brilliantly adapted I find the chimney swift to be a most ingenious bird, which for me earns them a 10. I mean, like what else could they do? I mean, it's so amazing.
Are these the ones that will like fly in big flocks?
So I've had this discussion a few times with some friends. I'm the bird guy in my group of friends.
Every group of friends needs one.
No, it's fun to be the bird guy.
If you don't have a bird guy, you're the bird guy.
Yeah, that's right. So no, you're probably thinking of starlings that fly in these starlings fly in big groups that look almost like schools of fish. It's called a murmuration, and it's beautiful. Unfortunately, starlings in North America at least are an introduced species, so I feel sort of mixed feelings about it because, they've had a not all positive impact. But then again, the individual starlings, it's not their fault. So,
right.
I try to enjoy them as much as I can. Now, there is group behavior you'll see around occasionally, like very large chimneys. Like sometimes you'll see around like schools or factories or things like that, huge chimneys. And at night or right at sunset, you'll see a chimney swift tornado where sometimes several thousand swifts will be circling around it, and it looks like a tornado of swift bodies as they're all spiraling and dropping into this chimney for the night. And so while it's not like a murmuration like you see with starlings, it is like large group behavior that is striking. It's actually usually pretty easy to figure out where this happens, because it happens in urban areas, and lots of times your local bird nerds will know where to go. Like, hey, you want to go see a chimney swift tornado? Go down the street here at about 7:45, and right before sunset, you'll see, like 10,000 swifts fly into this giant chimney. And it's remarkable. I've actually been lucky enough to see it a few times in my area, and it's overwhelming. It's beautiful. It's really remarkable.
Is it noisy? Do they make a lot of noise when they're doing this?
They do, but it's not like it's like this high pitched, like chittering little, like, I mean, I will not try to mimic the vocalization. There are recordings of it out there though. And it's a lot of chittering. They seem really busy when they're doing this.
I would love to see that. I bet I can track somebody down who can give me some pointers and tell me where to go find one, because I'd love to see it. The last category that we rate animals on is aesthetics, which is just how nice this animal is to look at. I could see this one going either way. So I gotta know what do you give the chimney swift out of 10 for aesthetics?
So I love this bird. I'm a little bit. I'm probably going to be more generous than some. I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
So not a full on 10. There are prettier birds out there,
But getting there,
but pretty good. Sometimes people call them a flying cigar. They have a really cool sort of streamlined body.
it is kind of like torpedo shaped like
This
that.
torpedo-shaped bird with these beautiful long wings. They're really aerodynamic. They do have those weird feet. I mean, it's a really cool adaptation. But is it a great aesthetic? I don't know. I've seen more handsome bird feet out there than the chimney swift. And also, because of that whole humorous thing, they don't really fold their wings in the same way that normal birds do. So, like, when they are perched on the side of a chimney, their wings almost look like they're tacked on. Like they're not folded up neatly. They're just sort of like hanging there. And it's just, it looks a little accidental. You know what I mean?
I guess for them, that's not a position they're going to be finding themselves in terribly often.
Yeah, they don't do that very often. So that's not that big deal. But the real reason why I docked them a little bit it's because you actually, as a birder, you almost never you don't get a good look at them. You can't.
Right.
So most of the birds that I get to observe, I can find them spend at least a minute with my binoculars out and get a good look and observe their plumage and their behavior and their aesthetics, right? But with chimney swifts, they're constantly moving and they're in flight all the time and they're usually fairly high up. So
is it the bane of your existence as a birder?
Well, so I recently made a video that involved some chimney swifts, and I really struggled. I couldn't find any royalty free or stock video of chimney swifts that I thought was good. So I was like, I'll just go out. They live in my neighborhood. I see them every night. I'll just go outside with my camera and try and take a video of them.
How hard could it be?
Oh, it was humiliating. The chimney swift was making fun of me. Go on, take a video. Good luck. They're constantly moving and they're right there and they're there all the time, but you never really get a good look at them. So if you can't see it, if a bird is beautiful in the forest, but there's no one there to see it,
is it really beautiful?
Is it really aesthetically pleasing? No, I don't think so. I think less, but still 8. I think it's still, maybe that's high. I don't know. What do you think? I'm curious.
I think that the sweet, adorable little nose is doing a lot for me.
Yes.
The very cute little beak is working. It's funny because the outstretched wings, like you were saying, there's not a lot of separation between, with a lot of other bird wings, you can see some of the clear sections of the wing. Right. And this just looks like one sort of flap. It's
well, right,
it looks,
because,
it looks like a fin. It looks like
yes.
They've got little fins. And so that is, once you say out loud that they're related to hummingbirds and I look at the wings, I'm like, I totally see it. I see it in the wings for sure. But 8 seems really fair. I might even go down to a 7 because of, you get that sort of plain brown bird syndrome where every little brown bird is difficult to tell from every other little brown bird. So I'm am I looking at I'm not a great birder, so I'd be looking at it I don't know, is this a finch? Is this a sparrow? Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, even if you are, there are whole groups of little brown jobbers. We call them LBJs in the field. We really do. And, there's a group called the Empid flycatchers, and good luck. They're all the same.
So I definitely wouldn't be able to identify one.
Well, they're the only swift in the area, so if you see a swift, it's a chimney swift, for sure.
I think with the context of knowing, I think I could be able to, see what they're doing, and be if you understand what their behavior is you might be able to, piece together what they are. But just based on looks alone, I don't think I would be able to confidently ID it. But I do think the little face is just so cute. That tiny little beak. And it does have kind of a grumpy looking face too.
Yeah.
That I find cute because they're so little. And I'm like, what are you going to do?
Do they look that grumpy when they're in the air, Because they're usually, if you see a picture, that's usually when they're roosting somewhere. And they're that's their bed head, That's
They woke up like this.
Yeah, they're don't judge them on that. You wait till they're flying around, but good luck getting a good look at one when they are.
See, that's the problem is that they're not showing off their best side.
That's also one of the cool things about them, though. I didn't know they existed when I was a kid. They were here in the thousands, and they're there every year in the summertime, in this part of the world. But you just miss them, and once you learn how to identify them, you'll see them. I see them in the summertime literally every day. every day at my house.
I bet now I will. Like, now that I know what to look for, I'm going to start seeing them everywhere.
Yeah, now they are migrating now. I at least in Pittsburgh, they're more or less gone, but they will come back in the springtime. I mean, once you learn how to identify them, nothing else quite flies like them. They like with bird identification, like plumage and like sort of aesthetic isn't usually the best field mark anyway. A lot of times people they worry about individual feather colors and things like that, but so often behavior is actually the best thing to key in on if you want to identify a species. And chimney swifts have a really unique behavior. You know, swallows can be a little confusing, but swallows do tend to land nearby, and then so if it does that, you know, it's not a swift. And once you learn how to identify their behavior, you'll see. I guarantee you will see them many, many, many times a year. Probably. I mean, honestly, I see them every day during the summer here at my house.
So everybody listening, get out there. Go see if you can find a chimney swift. Maybe catch you a tornado. I'm sure they put on a spectacular show.
They really do.
So before we kind of wrap up, I would love if you could let our friends listening know about your YouTube channel and where people can keep up with your work and what you're up to, where you can be found.
Sweet. Well, thank you. Yeah. So I make a tiny little YouTube channel called Isn't That Something? And it is a channel. So I spent 10 years working in science communication at a science center, and that's something I've always enjoyed. And then, the pandemic came around. I ended up moving on with my day job, but I just couldn't stop making dorky science content. So I started doing it on the internet.
You cannot put a lid on that jar once it's open.
Pandora's box is open, and it's dorky in there. And it's a channel where I just go into, but I kept it intentionally really vague. So that the title Isn't That Something is a phrase my great grandmother used to say all the time. Like, oh, isn't that something? But it works for almost anything. It's really just things that I find to be curious or interesting, but it's from sort of the point of view of a science communicator nerd. So for instance, the most recent video I made was a top 10 list with no theme. Which was fun, and chimney swifts made the list. So
top 10 vibes.
Yeah, there's lots of good stuff on that top 10 list. So yeah, isn't that something? You can just find it on YouTube. I appreciate that. I also work with another YouTuber who has a much larger channel. I'm the script editor for a show called Practical Engineering. So kind of a different vibe, but practical engineering is like civil engineering, infrastructure stuff. Like if you find like giant dams or the power grid or concrete or things like that to be fascinating, it's a super educational but entertaining, fun YouTube channel that you should definitely check out. One last thing I wanted to mention: if you ever are in the Pittsburgh area, I am the co-host of an event called Nerd Night, which is it's for grown-ups. This one, it's an adult night. It's at a bar basically, but you can think of it like a bar version of a TED Talk. We get 3 local nerds to come and do nerdy talks for the public. It's super fun. We get a lot of brilliant people and it's amazing how some of these folks, they'll talk about topics that I would never expect to be very interesting, and then it just is like mind-blowingly fascinating and also hilarious because it's a casual fun. It's not a college lecture, right? It's nerd night. So yeah, those are some of the things that I'm up to. So yeah, check, and you can find me on I guess I'm on Twitter at Ralph Crewe and things like that.
Amazing. And I'll have links to everything in the episode description, so folks listening can just scroll down and click through and have a lovely nerd night out in Pittsburgh. We've got Pittsburgh nerds listening. I feel like chimney swifts are a good example of things that you might not, if you don't know about them, you might not think that it's going to be terribly interesting, and then you give them a shot and you're like, there's a lot happening here.
No, I know. I completely agree. Yeah, I think they're really fascinating actually. So even though I'm a host of it, so I don't normally do the talks, but we had a host who got COVID and had to drop out, so I did a bird. It was called "Bird Out with Your Nerd Out" was the name of my talk.
I love that.
Yeah, and chimney swifts made the list of the interesting. It was all just on local birds you could see in Pennsylvania, and they made the list. They always make the list. They're amazing.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, I appreciate you so much for your time and sharing your love for them and knowledge about them here with us today. I think everybody should go see if they can find them and have a deeper appreciation for the little birds, not just the big flashy hawks and herons. Show some love to the little guys.
Yeah, check out a swift when you get a chance.
Give Swift a chance.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Ralph. It's been a delight, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you so much for listening, friends. I hope this little bat of daylight has built itself a sticky little nest right along the inside wall of your heart. If you liked what you heard today, I hope that you leave behind some kind words for us in a review on your podcast app of choice. Like AK.12, who said, "Love the podcast. I learn a lot about animals." Nira, followed by the number 9 23 times, who said, "It's so reliably fun and interesting, and while it's specifically kid-friendly, it's great for adults too." And Mytho Enthusiast, who said, "This podcast changed my life, and it will forever. I even listen to the podcast when I go to sleep. That's how much I love it." Thank you all for leaving behind such kind words for us. It really means a lot to us to hear from y'all because you are who we do this for. If you want to hang out with us online, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. Links to everything will be in the episode description below. You can send me an email at ellen@justthezooofus.com if you have a cool animal that you'd like to hear about. Thank you to Maximum Fun for having us on their network alongside their other wonderful shows, like the ones that you heard promos for earlier. You can check those out, learn more about the network, or how you can support our show over at MaximumFun.org. Finally, we'd like to thank Louis Zong for our incredible theme music. That is all for today. See you next week. Thanks. Bye.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.